News 12 presents The East End with Doug Geed.
The gazebo located in the heart of downtown Southold. Hello again, I'm Doug Geed. Welcome to another edition of The East End here on News 12 Long Island. On this weekend's program, you're going to learn about one of the most amazing creatures on earth, the honeybee. We're going to speak with a Long Island beekeeper. We'll also visit one of the biggest tourist attractions in all of the Northeast, the beautiful South Fork village of Sag Harbor. And our first stop is an old farm that's now a laid-back vineyard, the Old Field.
This hive probably has about 80,000 bees.
The inside buzz on the world of beekeeping. Stay with us on the East End here on News 12 Long Island.
They're all in different bee yards, though.
Up next, the story behind the amazing honeybee.
The bees will fly up to 3 miles from their hive collecting nectar and pollen.
Stay with us on the East End here on News 12 Long Island. Some colorful sunflowers for sale here at Rotkamp's Fox Hollow Farms in Bating Hollow. Welcome back to the East End here on News 12 Long Island. It's not just people who are attracted to pretty flowers, but honeybees as well.
I had a dream in 1997 that I was a beekeeper. So I woke up and I said, I need to keep bees. So read a few textbooks, started with one hive, now I have 100. A hive is basically a bunch of boxes in which there are frames. And on the frames, the bees, the female bees, build the beeswax. And so in a whole hive, in there, about 80,000 bees at their top and one queen. And the queen lays up to 5,000 eggs a day, and she lives up to 7 years. She has 5 to 6 attendant bees that follow her around wherever she goes to feed and clean her. The female bees are the ones that make the beeswax and make the honey and sting. And the boys, the males are around for procreation. Most of a hive, about like 98% of a hive are all female.
So women do everything in the bee world, it seems like.
Well, the guys are definitely important.
Everything.
The guys are definitely important, no doubt. But and if you want bees to move out of your way, you just pat them lightly on the back and they'll move.
So bees, when they're out there, are they looking for just one kind of flower or no?
It's kind of like us. We go to the closest grocery store. Bees are the same way. They're looking for a bunch of flowers in one spot. And bees can see yellow, purple, blue, and white, which is kind of neat. So they'll see the flowers, go back to their hive, communicate through dancing, and then the other bees will go there too. And it is crazy. They jiggle their head, they jiggle their butt, and then they do circular dances, and it depends. Sometimes they go counterclockwise, other times clockwise. They do figure eights, and it's all to describe where a location of flowers is. You can actually taste the flower source in the honey. If it's close to a raspberry patch, you can taste the raspberries in that honey. The spring honey is very light in color and very light and sweet in taste. The fall honey, those flowers have more minerals in the nectar, which gives it a darker color and a more robust flavor. I keep about 75 to 100 pounds of honey on each hive for them for the winter. About mid-November is when they start hunkering down for the winter. When it's 40 degrees or colder, they'll cluster up in a ball and they'll shiver to keep each other warm, and the queen's in the center. And they'll actually take turns being on the outside, and so then they'll go in when they're cold. And so the whole time they're on the bottom of the hive, shivering, and then they're eating the pollen and the honey the whole time. And so they're moving up in the hive. So by the time the spring comes, you'll see them at the top of the hive, and hopefully more spring flowers are blooming, and so then they find more food.
So what can everyday Long Islanders do?
Not use pesticides is one big thing. And if you do need to use pesticides, use them in the late evening when all the bees, native and honeybees, have already gone back to their hives. Another thing is let dandelions, clover, violets grow in your lawn, because then it's not a food desert to them. There's actually something there for them to feed on.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, more about the amazing honeybee, including where you can buy this fresh honey. Stay with us on the East End here on News 12 Long Island. Welcome back to the East End here on News 12 Long Island. We continue our visit with Laura Klahre, a passionate beekeeper.
This hive probably has about 80,000 bees. They're at their peak. I have 100 hives, which equates to 8 million bees. The bees will fly, the female workers, will fly up to 3 miles from their hive collecting nectar and pollen. The nectar they bring back as well as the pollen, and they put it into these cells. And then they blow bubbles into it to reduce the water content down. So it comes in at 85% water content, and they bring it down to 17%. Somehow they know when it's 17%, and then they'll cap it over with beeswax like they've done here, and then I know it's honey ready to harvest. Do you want to try it? This is the freshest honey you'll ever have. So a lot of times I just forget my lunch, so I just go right in here. Try it.
They're not upset that I'm taking from their supply here?
They have enough.
Oh, wow, very good.
You taste locust, linden, black cherry bloomed really well this year.
Yeah, very fruity. Oh, it's delicious.
I make, obviously, the honey during the honey season, but then during the winter I make candles, and I also make beeswax crayons. Adam and I were talking about opening a shop together, and we thought the concept of drinking wine and learning about pollinators, seeing the monarch butterflies, the honeybees, there's just something so beautiful about both wine and nature.
We're very much about the nature of the East End and of this area, and we wanted to have that theme in our shop. This bar is a reclaimed lumber. It was picked out of somebody's barn, and it's poplar wood, and we wanted to have the natural grain of the wood, and also the natural shape. That's a part of the concept.
What is the story behind the name and your labels?
I was struggling with coming up for a name. I was on a fishing trip in Plum Gut, and I saw the lighthouse on Orient Point, and I said, well, since I don't have a vineyard of my own, I need to incorporate a symbol of the North Fork, and what better than a lighthouse? And then I Googled online and found that it had this really cool nickname, and it's called the Coffee Pot. Well, at Coffee Pot Cellars, we are making small batch wines from some of the finest vineyards on the North Fork. Right now, I'm making Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, Merlot, and a Merlot blend that we use the trade name Meritage for, which denotes a Bordeaux red blend.
You're very passionate about bees.
Really? They're important because of pollination. They're the reason why our landscape looks the way it does. We wouldn't have strawberries, we wouldn't even have chocolate if it wasn't for bees. In general, they're very, very sweet creatures, and I don't know, there's just something so amazing that they're able to make our world look the way it does.
Laura produces Blossom Meadow honey. To get in touch with her, you can go to the website blossommeadow.com. Among other places, the honey is sold at Coffee Pot Cellars, a tasting room on Route 25 in Cutchogue, where the wine you heard about is sold. That website is coffeepotcellars.com. You could also find the contact information on our website, news12.com. Click on Features, then East End.